Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to use the production viewer in this video. So basically the idea of this production viewer application is that we can take our gauge records and our run tickets and match them up together so that we can produce a production report. So let me show you what I mean. So if you want to click on any of these tank IDs and select any of these dates, then you can pull up all of the gauge entries and all the run tickets associated with this tank ID engagement. So on the left side you'll have your gauge report, and on the right side you have your run tickets. So what the production program does is it takes these three columns from the gauge report and adds these three columns here to calculate the production barrels, run barrels, and net barrels. So the production barrels is simply a subtraction of the current day minus the previous day gauge barrels. So if you take 53 minus 45, you can see it's 8.35. And it goes all the way down, and this 25 is the difference between the last date associated with this tank ID before March 1st, 2014. So when the program does that, it'll realize that at some point you have a negative drop in your production barrels, as shown here, and the system will recognize that this was actually a point at which there was a pickup of the fluid. And so the challenge that the program at this point needs to do is it needs to find an associated run ticket for this negative drop, and you can see that it did it here. So it went into the run tickets table and it found the associated run barrel by the date of this gauge entry. So you can see that there was a run ticket on 310 that actually got brought into the production report, showing the 130. So then this net barrel column is just going to be a summation of your prod barrels and your run barrels, and that's your net barrels. So on the status, obviously, if there was no drop, then you're not going to have anything in status one. If there was a drop and it successfully found the run barrel associated, then it'll return good runs in the status one. And you can see that there are several good runs here in status one. So this one obviously will correlate to the 10th. This one here correlates to the 20th or to the 19th. And this one here most likely corresponds to the 28th. So what happened is that now what we need to do is we need to look at this total here of 430 barrels. We need to make sure it matches this barrel here of 410. And you can see that it didn't, because we actually had so we had 20 barrels on the 20th of March. So these didn't correspond. So most likely, so the way this program works is it aggregates these run tickets based on the run date, and it will only look up one date for each negative production barrels in your gauge report. So from a systems point of view, if we wanted to pick up this 20 barrels here, which I don't know if that's something we want to do, or if this is a legitimate ticket entry and everything is right, what we would need to do in this case for the system to recognize it is we need to edit this to put it on the 19th. So even though there are two run tickets, we would want to show this pickup happening on the 19th. And I would assume that there was probably only one run. There was not two runs on the 19th and the 20th, but I'm not sure. So let's go ahead and let me show you, in the process of doing that, how we run the program at that point. So you can click on this and highlight the one you want to edit. And so let's say that we're going to move this to the 19th because we want to bring all those in here at this point. So what we're going to do is click on the pencil, and it will bring up that record. And I'm going to change this 20th date to the 19th. I'm going to change it back, but I'm just going to change, just for demo purposes, demo test change back. I'm going to click on test dictionary because we need to make sure that we have a dictionary profile for this. and we do, and then we'll click the next button, and it will save it back into the database. So now when we hit the wand, you can see that, okay, so now we have 2/19 here. Okay, so now you can see that both of them are on the 19th. So what we need to do is we need to put this one back into pending mode. So you double click on it. It says, do you want to set record? And I say yes. And so now this whole month and tank ID combination is now into a pending mode. So when you click on pendings here on this button, we can see it, and this is how you would run the production program. And you go to pending, and we click on this item and double click on it. So we move the run column, say yes, and we're going to run it at this point. And click OK. Okay, and now we can see that it did put 150 here opposed to just 130 because the program always aggregates based on the run date. So if you have two entries with the same run date, it will actually aggregate this together for 150. And now you can see the run barrels are at 430 on either side. And so now this month is good. However, I don't know if that's what we wanted to do for this record, so I'm going to go ahead and just change it back. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. Actually, I'll go into that in a little bit. So I'm going to go back real quick and just change this back to 320 so that I'll erase my comments. So now this is going to go back to 320. Yeah. So I change it back to 320 here, and again, you can go to pendings, and you can see that it doesn't exist here in the status for pending because as soon as I double click on this, oops, and we set that into pending, then all of a sudden it will pop up here. And now at this point, I can double click on it and run it again. And you can see that even though this one wasn't, I didn't set this one in pending, but you can see it still changes run barrels back to 130. I just refresh this and you can see now it drops back to 410 and 430. So this one, I'm actually going to go ahead, even though I'm not going to make the modification I would recommend doing. I'm still going to make a comment on this. And so I would make a comment by going to run errors. And I know it's going to be 101 in March 2014. So I go here. So this is really the one that we're looking at here. And I'll make a comment that says move estimate on 320 to 319 to fix the run ticket difference. Okay, so I'm just making these comments based on the system, the system's quote unquote solution. You know, I won't actually employ these solutions just because I don't know if that's the right thing to do. But you can put your comments here as you go through each one and you want to fix them. You know, maybe you don't know exactly how to solve the problem at the time, but if you make your comments, then you can always go back to it and know which one that you're referencing. So in order to save this, we just click on save. And now every time we click on it, it'll already be there. So if you want to see all these summarized in a table, all you do is just click on this little table here, and it automatically pops this up like this. Now you'll notice that there are some duplicates, and actually 3/1/2014 is one of them. Oh, I'm sorry, that was for a different one. Sorry, not for 101, but for this tank ID, you can see they're together, and that's because every missing run will be a run error, but not every run error will be a missing run. So sometimes you see that they have both of these statuses. Most likely, if you fix one of them, it'll fix the other one as well, and you can just ignore the second one. Okay, so one thing though, once those get fixed, they will drop out. So once any of these, once we fix them in the systems, they will automatically drop out of this query. Okay, so a quick note. Let's see. So on the pendings thing, let me just go through this real quick. So in order to, so the goal here is actually to get rid of all these run errors and reconcile the whole system. But you can toggle between missing runs or run errors. So missing run basically just means that when the program ran, it found that there were drops that were not assigned. So if you want to look at these, and you want to keep this Doggle box open so you can make your comments, just click on stay open, hit copy, and it automatically copies it here, and then click on the wand. And you can see that for this one, we didn't have any run tickets at all, even though we had a slight drop here in the prod barrels, which probably is not, it's probably just something that we need to fix here on the gauge barrels, on the gauge entry. So in order to do that, we would just, again, click on the pencil and make the modification here, probably on the feet or the inches. And I think this was an inch where it should be 2.5, if I remember correctly. And then we just test the dictionary, save it, and then rerun the program, and it will work fine. Okay, one last comment, that there are some times where we have a dilemma right now, kind of a dilemma in the system. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, here it is. Okay, so right now, the way the system works is that we get estimate run tickets in that go into the system, and then so many days later you get a measure that also goes into the system on top of it. And the problem right now is that the system will automatically render both of those entries as legitimate records. We don't really have a good way of handling those, just because if they occur on different days, it's going to be almost impossible to know which one is correlated to which. And you can see a good example is this one right here. This is an estimate and has a measure on the day before, and it has a measure on the day after. And actually, these two measures are the same, so I think we should probably investigate this. This probably cannot happen here. But when you get a situation like, I don't know if this is associated to this, or if this one's associated to this. So the system is just gonna give you everything. And so when we're going through this, and when we make these entries and we need to reconcile these months, we need to have a way to actually just remove these estimates. We need to remove this once if we deem that they've already been replaced. And the only person that will know that is the person who's putting in the run tickets. So if I want to match these up, and we can see here that this combination is not matching with this 1942 and 2372, what I can do is I can just to have this estimate drop out and say, okay, well, I know this measure came in, and this one is no longer needs to be counted. We just double click on it, and it automatically will drop it not out of the system, but it'll drop it out of the production viewer. And if you just click on the wand again, you can see that this total dropped by that amount. Now, if you want to render those back, then we can just click on the magnifying glass, and it'll pull back all the ones that you have in fact hidden at that point. So it's really important when we do these, because when we're running the program, as soon as you double click on it, then the program will no longer recognize it anymore when it runs through the production program there. I'm going to bring it back in just because I don't want to tamper with any of the data, but that's pretty much the gist of it. At any time you can click on reset, and it resets everything back to the original mode. To see the whole system, you can click on all dates, and it'll automatically check all things for you. And then you can just click on the wand, and it will show you that right now our run ticket total in the system is 176,000, and our run barrels after on everything we've run the program on is 156. So we have about 20,000 barrel discrepancy that we need to fix. That's it. So okay, so let me know if you guys have any questions.